I think we can all agree that bad movies can slap sometimes, but hear me out. What if all bad movies aren't actually bad? What if just because a movie was universally panned at its time of release doesn't mean it's actual dog shit? Well, that's where I stand, and I'm here to fight for these quote-unquote dog shit movies that you guys look down on like the scum between your toes. I think we all have one of those films that's pretty much universally hated but we can't help but love, and there's a few reasons for that. Sometimes a film's just a bit ahead of its time, maybe the audience wasn't ready for it. Sometimes a film doesn't fulfill the expectations of the audience, be that due to misleading marketing before the film came out, or a previous film in the series having a very conflicting tone to this one. And sometimes a film is just entertaining enough that we can turn off our critical brains and take the content at face value. Some of the more pretentious types may consider these films bad, but I don't necessarily see it that way. So today I want to talk about a few films that I love that were fucking suplexed by audiences when they came out, and maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't. So I decided to make this hard for myself. Anybody can go on Rotten Tomatoes and find a movie with a 20% critic score and be like, but hey, this movie's good. And a bunch of people are going to agree with you. The Rotten Tomato review system isn't a good indicator of what's actually good or bad because you can go on the IMDb user ratings and see that the masses generally agree with you. My aim here is to be in the minority defending films that no one else will, so the stipulation is these movies have to have a 4 or lower on IMDb. And just to be clear, I'm not saying these movies are so bad they're good, I'm saying they're genuinely pretty good movies, not necessarily an 8 or 9 out of 10, but watchable, decent movies. First up to the plate is the 2003 film The Cat in the Hat, starring Mike Myers along with a young Dakota Fanning, which has a whopping 4.1 on IMDb. I've never truly met another soul who enjoys this movie as much as I do, and honestly, after taking a look at the team behind the film, I'm genuinely surprised it's so universally panned, showing up in many of the worst films ever made lists. The film was written by Alec Berg and David Mandel, both very competent writers who've had a hand in many successful HBO shows like Curb Your Enthusiasm, Barry, and Silicon Valley. Pretty good. It's also directed by Bo Welch, who doesn't have many directing credits, likely due to the disaster this film made for him, but everything he's made since seems fine. Now immediately I want to say this film is fucking hilarious, it's insanely quotable, genuinely I cannot count the number of times I've quoted,
"I'll get you, and I'll look like a bloody accident."
I think where this film failed, if you can call it that, is it takes a very different approach to the Dr. Seuss story than general moviegoers likely expected, and I think that likely made it hard for them to win over general audiences expecting to take their kids to a tame, family-friendly film. That said, I think the film we got is much better than a straightforward, family-friendly adaptation. What we got instead is a fairly dark comedy about a sociopathic man-cat who enters the lives of these two children and in a roundabout way teaches them some lessons about the importance of family and responsibility. One of the two kids, Sally, who's played by Dakota Fanning, is uptight and honestly lame as shit, following in the footsteps of her overworked and job-focused mother Joan. On the other hand, we have Conrad, played by Spencer Breslin, and he's a troublemaker, always looking for excitement and causing chaos. When the cat enters the picture, he brings the chaos to its end. The children follow along with the cat as he tries to rope them into fun but messy and destructive activities. All the while, the kids are in a crunch for time, attempting to clean the messes caused by the cat, as their mother could return home at any minute, or they could be caught by their nosy asshole neighbor, played by Alec Baldwin. Honestly, this film has so many great scenes. The Cupcakeinator scene alone made this movie worthy of being made. The set design is also great. It genuinely made you feel like you're in a Dr. Seuss book. And the cat costume is fucking horrifying, and I think it's fucking hilarious.
A monster? Where? That could have gone better.
I saw this movie as a child, and there were so many dirty and offbeat jokes that went right over my head.
Dirty hoe?
This is genuinely the type of movie I would enjoy watching with my kids, as it's a perfect mix of adult and child humor that everyone should be able to find something to be entertained by in it. It definitely has a very loose plot and it's not a masterpiece, but I genuinely find this to be a solid kids movie. All in all, I genuinely don't understand the hate for this film, but maybe I'm fucking crazy. If you also like this movie, please let me know in the comments so I don't feel like I'm going crazy, and if you hate it, please let me know why you're so miserable. Next on the list, another film from 2003, Dumb and Dumberer, When Harry Met Lloyd. The film sports a whopping 3.4 stars on IMDb, and it's a prequel to the 1994 film Dumb and Dumber, starring Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. So this film has a bit of a handicap from the get-go, following up on a comedy classic starring one of the biggest comedic names of its time, but without either of the original leads. Surprisingly though, the Farrelly brothers did return to write this film, so it's not wholly disconnected from the original. As I mentioned, this film is a prequel to the original film, so it's set in the 80s, and it's focused on how Harry Harry and Lloyd became friends. The film maintains the same slapstick and gross out humor the original is famous for, and if you've seen this movie, you probably remember the
Shit everywhere. There's shit everywhere! Damn it! There's shit on the windows! Oh my god! My house is full of shit! He shit everywhere! Look what he did! He shit all over the wall!
scene. Rest in peace, Bob Saget. While once again, this film is nothing of a masterpiece, but if you're a fan of the original film, I don't wholly understand why this film is ranked so far below it. The jokes are on point with many quotable scenes.
Yeah, deal. But first, give me the $2.
I said doll hairs. Psych. But a deal's a deal. In you go, little buddy. Come on.
Fine, give me the doll hairs.
Harry.
A deal's a deal.
Would you take $5 instead?
And the main duo, played by Eric Christian Olsen and Derek Richardson, do a really great job at staying true to the original actors. We also get Eugene Levy as the villain in his prime teenage comedy years. I won't spend too much time selling this one to you, but if you're a fan of the original Dumb and Dumber, it's definitely a good addition to the series. It's definitely miles better than Dumb and Dumber 2. I'm sure I'm going to catch some flack for this one, and I'm still not entirely sure whether this one's simply a guilty pleasure for me, but I had to add it to the list. We're talking Ghost Rider 2: Spirit of Vengeance. Sitting at a magnificent 4.3 on IMDb, this film wasn't looked upon too fondly by audiences or critics alike. And once again, this film is no masterpiece, but it's honestly a pretty solid action movie, and I honestly prefer the darker tone and faster pace of the second one to the original. While the plot is a pretty generic protect the kids storyline, it really does focus on showing instead of telling, leaving very limited exposition and pretty cool looking action sequences, which is to be expected considering the film was directed by Brian Taylor, who's made some pretty out there films like the Crank movies. He's also working on the new Hellboy reboot, which hopefully isn't pure piss like the David Harbour one. The main issue I personally have with Ghost Rider 2 is it's pretty obviously intended to be a much more violent R-rated film considering their choice of directors, but Sony got cold feet and opted for the more marketable film, which leaves it with this weird neutered feeling. It definitely feels like there was a much better movie on paper, but that went out the window once the money wagon started rolling. Either way, this movie isn't as bad as ratings would indicate. It's worth it honestly just to see Nick Cage's weird ass performance in it.
Scraping at the door! Scraping at the door!
Next is one you likely either remember fondly or think is absolute goat piss. It's the 1993 film The Super Mario Bros. This movie sports a whopping 4.1 on IMDb, and I've never heard of anybody passionately defend it on the grounds of it being a genuinely good movie, but hear me out. The film stars Bob Hoskins as Mario and John Leguizamo as Luigi. Hoskins was a seasoned actor at the time, known for roles in movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and John Leguizamo was still establishing himself in Hollywood. Together they form the duo that's supposed to bring the beloved video game characters to life, emphasis on supposed to, and right off the bat, let me say this movie is an absolute fever dream. It's a bizarre mishmash of sci-fi, dystopian elements, and weirdly dark themes no one expected from a Super Mario Bros. Adaptation. But honestly, that's kind of what makes it good. To enjoy this film, you sort of have to remove the concept of it being a Super Mario Bros. Movie from your head. And to sort of explain what I'm getting to here, let's take a look at the directors of the film. The film was directed by Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel. The two were primarily known for their work on Max Headroom, which is an 80s TV show.
More later, more big time television. Ratings 1,000. Ratings 1,000. What am I supposed to forget?
And I'm a major fanboy of it. I actually designed my own Max Headroom shirt just to be able to sport some fucking merch with him on it. But understanding their previous work really leads me to believe that these two never intended to make a good Super Mario Bros. Movie. I really think when offered a sizable budget to make a feature-length film, they figured they could kill two birds with one stone. Make a Mario Bros. Movie, and make a sick sci-fi film that they truly wanted to make. The plot is convoluted to say the least. The film takes place in a parallel universe where dinosaurs evolved into humanoid beings. Our plumbers Mario and Luigi get sucked into this alternate dimension while trying to rescue Daisy, played by Samantha Massis, who randomly turns out to be a princess. And then there's King Koopa, played by Dennis Hopper, who honestly does an amazing job, giving an almost Shakespearean performance. He's got this weird spiky hair and a penchant for de-evolving people into goop.
You later, alligator.
It's fucking weird and I love it. The film's set design is also fucking awesome. It's like grunge Blade Runner. The city of Dino Hatton, yes, that's what it's called, is a blend of neon lights, slime, and metal. It's nothing like the vibrant Mushroom Kingdom we know and love from the games, but it's so weirdly unique it sticks with you. Now the film has some genuinely hilarious moments as well. The scene where Mario and Luigi disguise themselves as Goombas, which in the film are these giant-bodied, little-headed lizard boys. It's pure fucking gold. And let's not forget the infamous Dance with the Goombas scene.
Sir? What is it now?
The Goombas are dancing again.
So is the 1993 Super Mario Bros. A misunderstood masterpiece? Probably not, but it's a fascinating piece of 90s cinema and it's worth a watch. Next up, we have the 2001 film Freddy Got Fingered, starring and directed by Tom Green.
The backwards man. I can walk backwards fast as you can. I can walk backwards fast as you can.
This film has an insanely low score of 4.6 on IMDb, and it's infamous for being one of the most polarizing comedies of all time. Now, Tom Green at this time was at the height of his career, known for his absurd and often shocking humor in The Tom Green Show, sort of like an early Eric Andre, and Green brought this same unique brand of comedy to the big screen with this film, which as a fan of his is exactly what you'd expect. However, it seems for most audience members it wasn't exactly what they were paying for. The plot of Freddy Got Fingered is loose, to say the least. It follows Green's character Gord, a cartoonist who returns home to live with his parents while pursuing his dream of creating an animated TV show, and things take a bizarre turn when Gord accuses his father, played by Rip Torn, of sexually abusing his younger brother Freddy.
Yeah, he touches my little brother.
Which leads to honestly just a load of nonsense. This film is fucking insane. It's an onslaught of surreal and often offensive humor that doesn't hold back, but that's what makes it so unique and, dare I say, brilliant in its own twisted way. One of the film's strongest points is its commitment to the absurd. Tom Green doesn't just dip his toes into the waters of lunacy, he cannonballs in. From the iconic "Daddy, would you like some sausages" scene,
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausages? Daddy, would you like some sausage? Sausages, sausages.
to delivering a baby and swinging it around like a lasso, the film is a masterclass in shock comedy. And Green is fearless. He comes at this film with so much manic energy, it's both captivating and bewildering at the same time.
You're gonna pay! He's a molester. He's a child molester!
His willingness to push boundaries and embrace the bizarre sets this film apart from pretty much any comedy I can think of. And another highlight would be Rip Torn's performance as Gord's father. Torn brings a level of intensity and commitment to the role that grounds the film's more outlandish moments. His interactions with Green are some of the best in the film. The film also has an undercurrent of satirical commentary. It pokes fun at Hollywood, the pursuit of artistic dreams, and family dynamics in a way that's exaggerated, but surprisingly insightful. It's almost as if Green is daring the audience to try to find some deeper meaning in his schizo ramblings. And despite being completely batshit, Freddy Got Fingered has a certain charm to it. There's a rawness that feels authentic, a sense that Green is bearing his soul through this weird absurdist lens. It's a film that challenges conventional tastes and dares viewers to see the world through Green's eyes. I think where the film failed, if you could even call it that, is being way too ahead of its time. The early 2000s wasn't ready for a comedy that's so subversive and unconventional. Critics and audiences didn't know what to make of it, leading to its poor reception. But in today's world of internet memes and avant-garde humor, it might just be able to find a more appreciative audience. So is Freddy Got Fingered a misunderstood masterpiece? Probably. It's definitely a film that's true to its creator's vision, and for that alone I think it deserves some respect. And that's the video. Let me know if you disagree or agree with any of my choices, and also check out my podcast. I made a podcast with a few other YouTubers and they're pretty awesome guys, so we'll talk about movies and stuff like that there. But other than that, later.
A holy cocktail in my veins, mixing crack with